Hello everybody, Dr. Scott of Reddit, otherwise known as the MGTOW Lurker. Now this video is kind of a backstory to the whole CPS thing, and I'm really just going to highlight my annoyances with CPS in general. So, it's not going to be 100% chronological. I'm going to skip the part where they took her, and kind of go over how it is to be a man or a single father fighting CPS. Now, during that time, I had two jobs, and I wasn't working as a physician at the time. I was working for Amazon, and I was working for a security company, and on top of that, I had a personal trainer, so I was hitting the gym 7 days a week. 6 days a week I was going to the gym when I wasn't at work, and then when I wasn't at work, I was either at the gym or my second job. So I kept myself as busy as possible, which I enjoyed. And I had told CPS, hey, I know you guys fucking love meetings. Like, this is the 30th meeting this week, which is another issue I had with them. One of the main issues was they acted like I was unemployed. They were like, oh, yeah, we're going to do a meeting Monday. Hey, we're doing a meeting Thursday. Hey, we're going to do a meeting Wednesday. You free Saturday? It's like, no, motherfucker, I work for a living. What the fuck you think I'm doing? And I had told CPS, I said, hey, look, I have a very busy schedule. I don't really have time for your shit right now. Here's what it is. Here's my schedule. I'm working Monday through Sunday with Amazon, and on times that I'm not working, I'm doing my other job, security. And for some reason, CPS, when we went to court, CPS walks in and says to the judge, Your Honor, he has blown us off several times, and we don't believe he is actually employed. We think he is unemployed and lying to us because we were unable to verify his employment. Now, at this point, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Unable to verify my employment? You didn't ask. You didn't ask for my employer's contact information, number one. Number two, you didn't even bother to ask whom I was working for. So, of course you didn't verify, because that would make you look bad. So, it got to a point where I had asked CPS, I said, hey, you want to verify my employment? Here's my Amazon identification for my employee ID, and here's my employer's number for my second job. And for some reason, we went into court another time, one of the numerous times I went to court, and they said that we were unable to verify his employment. So by the third court case, what I decided to do was I put on my security guard uniform, and I wore my Amazon employee ID lanyard, and I walked into court, and oddly enough, the security, the company they use to do security for the courthouse is actually the same security company that I work for. So they were like, hey, are you relieving us? I'm not relieving you. CPS just somehow has it in their head that I don't have a job. So, wearing this. So I went to the judge and I was like, hello? Yeah, I actually do have a job. If you'll note, the security guys out there, they can vouch for me because I work for the same company. And here's my ID card proving that I work for Amazon. CPS let that go. So, on another occasion, another fun occasion with CPS, they went to the judge and said, hey, we ran a search for his medical license here in Washington, and he's lying about being a doctor. He is not medically licensed in the state of Washington. And I'm thinking to myself, duh? No shit, I'm not registered in Washington. I was living in a different state. I wasn't practicing medicine in Washington. I said I was a physician, but I didn't say I was a physician in Washington. So, of course you're not going to find it, because if you look at my residential history, you'll find that I was living in another state not even 2 months ago. So I have just moved to Washington. So why would I be licensed in Washington? Second off, I could have given you that information had you asked. But CPS didn't bother asking because they don't care. Now, another interesting thing was I was like, look, I have my doctorate, I have a PhD, and they went to the judge and said, hey, he's full of shit. We couldn't verify his education. I'm like, hold up. First off, you couldn't identify or verify my employment despite the fact that I gave you a phone number, I showed up in uniform. What the hell? Then, when it came to the education, I remember sitting outside the courtroom, inside in the lobby area, and she was like, oh yeah, what school did you go to? And I was like, yeah, here it is. Here's a picture of the school. Here's their phone number. Here's their address. And if you say hi to Martha for me, it's been a while. If she's still working there, say, Dr. Wilson says hello. So, fine, whatever. I go about my day. And she goes to the judge, again, saying that, hey, he's lying. We couldn't verify his education. So I got out of the courthouse that day. When I got out of the courtroom, I went and I called up my university and I was like, hey, surprisingly enough, Martha, the person who enrolled me into school, was actually the one that picked up the phone. And she's like, oh my God, it's been forever since I've heard from you. So I was like, hey, yeah, I have a question for you. Did anybody call to verify my education? And she's like, oh, funny you should mention that because we keep a record of everybody that calls to validate a student's or former student's education. And so I said, great, is there anything on the books for me? Has anyone called? And she's like, no, not for years. No one has called to verify that you've gone to school here. And I said, that's interesting. Okay, so CPS had gone out of their way to lie to the judge about my education. They said, oh, we couldn't verify it. And I was like, well, of course you couldn't because you didn't call. You didn't even try. So, lie after lie after lie. So it was lying about, the first lie they did was that they did not do a home study or a walkthrough to verify that my place was safe. Unfortunately for them, my ex-wife, my girlfriend at the time were all present. Not only were they present, but my ex-wife, being the clever person that she is, I'm not saying she's a good person, but I am saying she is clever. She video recorded the whole thing. So I said, unfortunately for you, here's a video of you doing a walkthrough. So if you can stop lying, that'd be great. From there, it went to lying about not verifying my education after not even checking my education. Then it was lying about my employment. Oh, he's unemployed. No, I'm not. There it is. And then them going, oh yeah, we still couldn't verify it. That's because you didn't try. You didn't even check. You didn't even call the number. So CPS lied about my education. Then they lied about my employment history. So the next day, I actually bring my degrees and my educational certificates, and I say, would you like to hold on to these for me? That way, you can pretty much verify to the judge that I'm not full of shit. She says, no thank you, that won't be necessary. And then goes to court and says, yeah, he's full of shit, couldn't validate it. Like, couldn't validate it? You told me you didn't need it. You told me you didn't want it. And then you turn around and say, you couldn't verify that I actually went to school, despite the information. And on top of that, here's my licensing information in the correct state at which I am licensed. So, it was dealing with CPS, was dealing with a whole bunch of liars. There was another time that CPS had arranged for visitations. And I said, okay, well, I told my attorney ahead of time, look, I do not trust this person. They're a fucking liar. They're distrustful. I want a third-party person there for my protection when she comes over to do the home inspection. My attorney blew me off. CPS blew me off. So what they do, they're like, okay, we'll get another person from CPS to be there. So they bring another lackey from CPS, and then they do the walkthrough, and they're like, yeah, your place is nice. I'm like, no shit. So we discuss visitations the following day. I told her, hey, tomorrow for visitations, there's a McDonald's down the street. Can I take my daughter there? And it's closer, it's better for me. And she said, yeah, that's fine. I don't see why not. So the next morning, I show up for my visitation, at the agreed upon place, and I'm there for 3 hours with nothing. And then I get a text message, hey, how come you're not at the place in Stevenson Ranch, which is, 40 minutes away? And I'm like, because we agreed on this place. They called me a liar and said that, oh, that didn't happen. I said, see, this is why I wanted a third party present. That way you couldn't bullshit your way through it. And I noticed that when I was dealing with CPS, that they had this dishonesty, they had this bias. Oh, a single father, he's a fuck up, he's a loser. It had nothing to do with facts. Like, they wanted me to be unemployed, they wanted me to be educationless, without education, without degree. And I was like, no, hold on a minute. Here's this, and that. Here's everything that you want. But what did they do? They perjured themselves in court, saying, I swear that all of this above is true. And in that, they said, we could not verify his education. That was a lie. We could not verify his employment. That was a lie. He's saying that he's a physician's assistant. That's a lie. I never said that. Why would I? I have my NPI. I have my license number. What else do you need? What else do you need? But you see, CPS kept lying and lying and lying and lying. And there was never a moment where I was able to reach out to anyone and say, hey, there needs to be some balances here because this person is dishonest. I would like a new caseworker. Could I get a male? No. I could not, because males don't work for CPS apparently. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to go over some of the pitfalls of having to deal with CPS as a single father. And spoiler alert, it's been almost a year, and I still don't have my kid back, despite the case being closed and them agreeing that there was no evidence for the claim in the first place. So that's where we are today. Have a good one.